Good morning. I'd like to call the April meeting of the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting to order. For anyone listening in, my name is John Gaughan. I am the Vice Chairman of the Commission, and I will be serving as the chair of this meeting in the absence of Mr. Mike Boswell, who has an excused absence. Taking the roll, all members are here with the exception of Mr. Boswell. If I could ask everyone to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, liberty and justice for all. Thank you. If I could ask for a motion for approval of the agenda. Second? All in favor? The agenda is approved. Now I ask for a motion to discuss and approve the Planning and Zoning Commission minutes of March 20th, 2021. Any discussion? All in favor of the minutes? Aye. Minutes are approved. Now moving to agenda item E for updates. Mr. Kilmer, if I could ask any report on the Non-Residential Design Review Committee.
Didn't meet this month.
Thank you. Could I ask you further, Lou, for any comments and updates regarding the April Town Council meeting?
Sure. We actually had a pretty big schedule yesterday. There was a second reading dealing with as you saw in the front page of the News Journal, about holes on the beach, about actually having something in our code that actually requires people to fill in the holes in the beach when they're about to leave the beach and not leave them unattended. So we're with our beach ambassadors. The whole purpose of this is not to be create a problem, but just since there was nothing on the books that said you had to do it, you would think common sense would prevail, but sometimes it doesn't. So it requires anybody who doesn't want to work with the beach ambassadors about filling in the holes. Now we have a law, an ordinance to say you should and must. Also, we had a second reading dealing with establishing design and development standards for wireless facilities outside the public right-of-way. This is, again, sign of the times where a lot of people now are, creating their own little systems, and we'd like to basically have some system of conformity with that. We also bought a piece of property. This is 2.7 acres located on 2nd Street and Hudson Avenue for $249,000. This is subject to consideration of title, survey data, environmental assessment, and the other pertinent due diligence items. This is a nice piece of land that's alongside of some of the land that we already own along the Loop Canal area. I'm very happy that we did this, even though it's basically a land that doesn't look like it should be developed or could be developed because it's in a floodplain. But at the end of the day, if I keep on going back to North Bethany along Route 1, that property was in a floodplain, and they found a way of putting houses on it. And I think it was a very important and very smart move in the town. And it's also, I feel, is a very good price because, as you will know, land here in Bethany Beach, well, It's incredible. I mean, look how much money we got from our real estate transfer. More than ever in the history of real estate transfer tax, what we got this year. It shows you how much property is being bought and sold within the town. Also, we talked about each year we're required to look at the investment policy of the town. It's a requirement to be reviewed once a year, and we did that. No changes made. Also, we also dealt with approving all the concessions that are common each year during the summer, and we had six of them this year, which is again a little different from the past. I think it shows the frustration of the times. People want to be outside, be in the open air, and exercise. Also, we appointed Michael Loftus to the Board of Adjustment. For the record, it's not my son-in-law. There's a couple Michael Loftuses here in the town, but it's not my son-in-law. Also appointed Lee Bunting to the Cultural and Historic Affairs Committee. We also approved a contract for a new side load garbage truck in the amount of $22,761. That's replacing a truck that's we bought in 2003. So it's still operating, but my point is and the backlog of getting this is over a year. So these are again the sign of the times of getting a piece of equipment. And also a contract to Starfire Corporations for our 4th of July display for $35,000. Depending on the whole circumstance, whether we can even have that this summer. There are alternative plans from either using it for either Labor Day or use it on the January 1st during the during the evening. So I think it's on Saturday. Is it Saturday? So we could do it, Saturday in the evening. So that's another possibility. And that's it.
Lou, I'd like to just make a comment on the purchase of that property. I mean, I think that is a wonderful development because if I'm not mistaken, it abuts the larger tract that
the Walcheck property.
The Walcheck property, and it now gives the town control over a potential large property plot that could have been developed. And
yeah, I totally agree.
And there's a lot. We have a cottage in Bethany West, and there is a lot 70 by 100 feet that is for sale, undeveloped in Bethany Beach, in Bethany West. That lot is on the market for somewhere around $250,000 for a 70 by 100 lot. And so the price that the town negotiated for that piece of property is certainly, and from my vantage point, an excellent point. Are there any other comments from members?
Just a point that was brought out by the mayor yesterday, how much property the town has purchased within the corporate limits of the town to take it out of being developed. It's like over 12 acres. Wasn't it about 12 acres?
It's
somewhere there.
Certainly
Yeah.
At least 12.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Did we get any written questions or any indication of public comment for the meeting? Okay, because we don't have the capability today, if someone is watching, to raise their hand to ask a question as we proceed. So as far as I know, there won't be any public comment on any of the actions later today.
Actually, quite honestly, we get very few during the council meetings too. So I would say it's rare that we get any comments at all.
Then moving on to item 3, new business. We have before us a request from Mrs. Joe Carol Onifree, the property owner of 857 Garfield Parkway, for a 6-month extension to the letter to proceed for the prior approved planned residential development done by the Planning Commission in order to commence work on the project.
Mr. Chairman, I have an update on that. The property owner has withdrawn their request. They are not going to be seeking an extension. They understand that the letter to proceed will expire on the 20th of this month, and they are accepting that and not proceeding with the PRD. I do have one letter that came in, when I guess we get to it, that was opposing it, but it's kind of a moot point at this point because she is not going forward.
Susan, let me ask a couple of questions if I
Yes, sir.
could. With the expiration of the letter to proceed on the 20th, if Mrs. Onifree is able to sell that property and someone were interested in doing a development, they would they have to start the process from the very beginning. Is that correct?
That is not correct.
Okay.
If someone purchased the property after the 20th, it is not clear if they could ask for an extension. The PRD is only that particular plan that was approved. And that's because that property does not have the proper square footage for a PRD. It is grandfathered for this one owner. Now, the code says that after she got approval for preliminary, she could sell it and the PRD would go with it. And I think that was the original plan, but it just didn't work out. The way I have talked with them a lot this past week, what they are saying is they've had a lot of developers look at this. You would think 5 houses, and for some reason none have thought that they could make it work financially. And it may be that the system that they had designed for it was more expensive than just slapping in a road and building 5 houses. So I don't know what the numbers were, but everyone has turned it down. They are hoping to go forward just simply subdividing it into 2 lots. And they'll be working on that, is what they've told me.
Okay, so you got to help me here to understand. If Mrs. Onifree, with the letter expiring, if Mrs. Onifree wants to subdivide the lot, she could do that?
Into 2 lots?
Into 2 lots.
She'd have to go to the Board of Adjustment. That is what I've advised her because it is zoned R2 and it doesn't have sufficient frontage. It has plenty of, it's big enough.
Right.
It just doesn't have frontage. There are 2 units on it now, too. So that would be my advice to her. And then she would have to do that and then come back here for approval.
Right. If someone bought the property
Yes.
and they wanted to do a development, is there a way that that could possibly happen?
You mean a planned residential
Yes.
development? No.
Okay.
No, it's done. It's not, if she lets it expire and has no interest in it, it's done. It's not possible.
Got it. Are there any other any questions from other members of the commission? Thank you very much for that update. I was expecting to have a potentially spirited discussion about where we were going.
Looks like someone's going to make a baseball game.
Right. Yeah, for anyone who is listening in, our recorder's son has a opening softball game, or kids' baseball season opener, and she has to leave at 11 o'clock, and we would be without a record keeper. And so I was concerned that we wouldn't make that. I'm pretty sure we're going to make it now. All right, so that puts that's the end of the saga of 857 Garfield.
For today, we still have them trying to do something with it. But
Right, no,
that's
understand. All right, thank you very much. All right, we're now going to move to item number 4 on the agenda, which is the old business and the general review of the comprehensive plan. I'm going to ask the members if we can have a discussion, a nitty-gritty discussion in my terms of how we are going to proceed. And what I mean by that is a full understanding of how we can set up the existing comprehensive plan in an electronic forum, so that as we review and develop the goals going forward, we have a way of more easily manipulating that, where it's on an electronic basis, so that if people have comments and all, they can go on that, so that we can get approval. For those that didn't have the pleasure of working on the last comprehensive plan, started as the 2010 to 2020 plan, which took until 2012 for the state to approve it. When Lou and I happened to have been members of the commission at that time. And when we were working on that plan, Lou Kilmer gave unbelievable amounts of his time to take the comments of all the members and transcribe that, and then bring it back to the commission for final approval by all the members. We're trying not to lay that burden again on Lou by having a mechanism, a way of the members commenting and so forth, where we can get consensus before giving Mr. Kilmer the draft that he can insert into what will become the 2022-2032 plan. Is that an accurate description, Lou?
Yes. For those who aren't familiar with this whole process, it's a lot more complicated than just us. After we come up with a draft that we all agree to, this is a very complicated process, because it involves the governor, it involves the state legislature. So after we, as a group, come up with a plan that we all can agree to and approve, then I make an appointment to go up to Dover to have them review the plan. I said it ahead of time, and I meet with a board, or maybe not me, a group of us perhaps, go up there, and they will critique the plan and make recommendations, changes, additions, for the most part. It comes back to us, we make those changes, send it to the council, then it goes up again to get approval from the state legislature and the governor. So it's a bit of a process. And one question I have today, we all have this little document in front of us. Is this something we all agree to? And this is, I can put this as part of the comprehensive plan? That's question number one. I also have contacted Cliff, and he's going to agree to update all the tables and charts that pertain to the town. And I've already gone up to the University of Delaware, and the other charts and tables and figures that are in there, they agreed to sit there for a cost to update those. So that's where we stand. Basically, my take-home message, I just need an input from everyone about what you'd like to see in there as a group. You know, not just myself or Diane or. So it's once I get that, this thing can move along pretty smoothly. But that's what my request, and hopefully we can do that, because if you keep on putting us off month after month after month, all of a sudden we're in a time lock here. So that's all.
Thank you, Lou. Well, in that vein, prior to the meeting, I took the forward. The section starts on Roman numeral 6 of the current plan. It says forward, and it's just it's an introduction. And I've sent that to all of you.
You also sent some stuff. But I mean, see, I just don't want from it. Yeah, it would get it from individuals, and then they say, "Oh, well, we don't want that," or that. You know, I just would like to have a consensus from the group of, like, say, do you like this document here? Are there any changes you like, or can we put it in as is? These are the kind of things that I need to know.
Right. I rewrote the forward. I made minor edits to it, really, and then sent it to everyone so that we could discuss that today. And if we come to agreement on that, that would be the first page, if you will, that we could give to Lou. But in doing that, I mean, I was copying sentences and all that are already in the document. I mean, this took me a long time. I'm a computer troglodyte. But that's why I opened by saying would like to try to get it so that the document is somewhere electronically, so that as we go through the other things, if you have comments, it can be done there and either agreed upon electronically or then brought to the next meeting where we could get unanimity, if I'm making any sense there.
Yes.
So
I
yep.
have I'll have the Google Doc set up today. So what that would mean is that rather than you emailing that document out to everybody, that document will just live online. You'll adjust it there. Everyone could, at 3 a.m., pick it up and adjust it.
Right.
And you'd see like a highlight that, yeah, right.
Yes.
Right. Or not, or if you mean not fall back asleep, just roll around for the next 3 hours. That will simplify that process. And then that document actually can just be, it can be the entire document.
Yeah, just cut and paste.
And then it's just along the way as we work through it, the final version of that will, rather than as it was before, Lou compiling everything, it'll just be already there. So I'll have that to everybody today.
Scott, thank you very much. That will be a huge step forward.
Absolutely.
And will you ask if These comments, for those that might be listening in, these are comments from two of the commission members related to the major goals that are currently laid out in our plan. These have not yet been agreed to by everybody,
Right, I know.
okay? And we might, depending on the will of the commission, we might want to try to go through these today and get some of that if you think that would be helpful.
Yes.
Okay. What I'm going to propose is, if there is any, I'm referring back to the email document that you got from me, which was my rewrite of the forward, and would like to see if there are any. I have no pride of authorship, ladies and gentlemen. Any changes or whatever to that. The biggest point that I made in my rewrite was to recognize the challenge that the town had with the pandemic and how it responded decisively. I did not think it was particularly productive to simply take the forward from the current plan and put it into the plan going forward. People needed to understand that we weren't just doing this by rote, but we're in fact trying to update things. So I would, any comments that people have about my rewrite, more than welcome.
Keep in mind, rote won't work at the state level. So you just can't submit the whole thing again, like without changes and updates. They're very perceptive about that.
Right. Well, and that's why I started with the forward going.
Yeah.
We need to, the basic underlying theme is okay, but we do need to update it. And I have, again, no pride of authorship in the wording that I've given to everybody.
One thing I recommend, which I'm going to do, all the abbreviations, I'm going to spell them out,
Right.
I just, like a lot of people don't know what ACTS is. They don't know what CRS is, the community rating system. So at least one part of the document, have them identify what they are. And also like, I've just noticed it here on that. That's what I'm doing right here. And also, that kind of focus from the beginning. So again, to clarify what things are. I think we all have a tendency to use abbreviations among ourselves, but once you get out of whatever organization you're in, once you get out of the organization, what does that mean? What does that mean? So I'll focus on that. Again, as I mentioned earlier, I've already contacted the University of Delaware for a lot of these things that have to be updated, these charts and figures that more of on a national or state level.
Do any members have a comment or suggested changes to the draft forward? Are members prepared to discuss and
John, your introduction, I think, is important because of what we've gone through with COVID. So I think it's very appropriate to put this in.
Thank you. And if you, Diane, if you think it needs further expansion, we could do that. I was trying to keep it within very short and sweet, but to at least recognize that and the performance of the town as an indicator of how the town would react going forward with the new plan.
Yeah, and I'll update the various grants and loans that we received, especially in relationship to, you know, the federal government and the COVID. And also mention, you know, with Comcast now, we've signed a contract with Comcast to provide services to the residential as well as the businesses. So I'll put that in there also. That has to be completed. They actually mentioned that by some of the homes by the fourth quarter of this year, there will be sections of Bethany Beach that will be hooked up to the Comcast system. So, but it's a 2-year process. But some parts will be.
You know it's bad when you're rooting for Comcast.
What's that?
So you know it's bad when you're rooting for Comcast. That shows you that shows you how good Mediacom is.
Well, I mean, don't you think competition is always a wonderful thing?
Competition is great. John, the note on as this plan is being developed.
Yes.
By the time it's submitted, the plan will have been developed, right? So do we want to make that a current tense thing the way it is, or should we make it a past tense, or that's just the tense of that sentence that's
Well, then, why don't we say, as this plan was being developed?
yeah, I think that
Okay.
could work. Something like that. Just you see what I'm saying? It will have been developed by the time we submit it, right? By the time of someone else is reviewing it.
Yeah, and also focus on there's multiple copies of this, but the one you want to focus on is the 2017 update. That was the 5-year update from the original plan, which was a major update. And the University of Delaware is fine starting from that. So that's why we're into the odd 2022, 2032. So.
Right,
John, it
so-
could also just say you could just strike as this plan is being developed. It could just say something like the challenges provoked by the pandemic continue for all the response by the town, which has been timely, pragmatic, clear, and decisive service hallmarks for the direction Bethany Beach plans to take going forward.
All right, so just take out as this plan is being developed,
Yeah.
all right? Are there any other comments on the draft forward in front of people?
Following up with Scott's about the tense, I think.
Diane, I'm sorry, could you take your mask down? I can't
sorry,
hear you.
I'm sorry. Following up with Scott with the tense, I think it might be, as in past plans, it will give, it gives highest, not will, but it gives highest priority. Take out will.
A question I would ask that I don't have an answer to, which is just that, do we all still agree that this is the direction for the town? There's nothing I see that's like particularly problematic or controversial about it. It's just making sure that, like, this is if we wanted to, this is our chance to say we want something different. There's nothing different I would propose. I'm just saying that, just saying we should consider that.
Okay, so suspending the discussion about specific language
Right.
on,
We can clean that up, yeah.
because by the end, we're going to make sure that at least this page gets to Lou, but to the point about the direction of the town. Everybody can have their opportunity to speak. I believe when you look at the recommendations and the goals that were set out in the current plan we were under, they were rational, they were realistic.
Achievable.
It wasn't, yes, achievable, but not by standing pat.
No.
The town had to stretch to meet them.
Right.
And if you look at what we accomplished, we addressed every one of those goals. Some of them better than others, I mean more robustly than others. Some of which we're going to continue to be challenges like affordable housing. But the goals and the recommendations that are in our plan, we should give ourselves an A or an A minus. And in accord with the forward as written, Bethany is to be a haven for quiet, a rest for quiet people. That same overarching goal of remaining a family-oriented town, to me, are the markers going forward, meaning that the goals that we're going to develop, for the most part, are going to be continuations of what is laid out in the current plan. As we delve into it more deeply, I'll give you an example of, I can think of one addition that needs to be in there. In the current plan, under transportation, we have 6 different things, goals set out, bicycle safety, et cetera. Going forward, I think we should consider adding a 7th, which would be parking. That's a challenge that we are facing, whether it be how to accommodate it, or do we have to find a way of addressing electric vehicles or whatever. There are on the margins some places that there will be additions, and there will also be deletions. The streetscape is done. One of the goals of the current plan was to do the streetscape, and we have done that. Now, there may be refinements to that, but that as a specific goal can now be deleted. We're going to be doing North Atlantic at some point. I don't mean to get off on a tangent, but the goals going forward, from my view, Scott, remain very much the same as in the past, and we should continue.
And that's what's focused on. Obviously, at the state level, they don't read all the entire document all the time. They focus on there is what your goals are, how you're going to do them, and look at the ones that we've already set in the past, and how did you meet those, what still needs to be worked on. And these are the kind of things that they focus on at these reviews. So you're spot on, John.
Well, you can, I'm going to ruminate for a moment, and then you can cut it off and tell me that to stop and forget it.
Stop. Oh, sorry.
In that regard of the state being interested in what did you do and where are you going, would it be a value, or would it be an approach to, rather than staying in absolute lockstep to the way the current one is laid out, to do simply that after the forward, to then say what we have done and go through all of the goals from the current plan and lay out what we have done, and then simply go to the next section that says here's where we want to go, and then lay out the new goals.
Well, yeah, I mean, basically, in essence, the forward kind of supplies that kind of information, you know, of the document. We also have to follow, again, they have a certain format they like all the municipalities to follow.
Right.
So that format is basically what we use rather than, you know, going their own little way. So this is basically how they like the document set out, so.
All right, so that means that we, to the maximum extent possible, we should follow the template that is in
Right.
front of us.
Yes,
Meaning that when we get to executive summary, I'm on page 2 of the current document, executive summary overview of plan, goals, and recommendations, and we then work our way through each one of the sections.
yep. That's where they focus their
Okay.
attention.
Well, whatever is going to sit best with the state is the way, I would suggest, the way we go about it, rather than my initial idea.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's,
I have one question.
yeah, does anybody else have comments
Yeah, I just have a,
to Scott's question about, do we agree on the general direction that we're going?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I don't actually have a problem with the direction. I just want to make sure that, like, this is our, if we wanted to say, like, well, we want Bethany Beach to be the transportation hub of the East Coast, this is our opportunity to say that, you know? I realize that's ridiculous, but just that if there were any other things, and the other point I would make is just that I think the goal of, like, being, you know, kind of having a thing that we all feel confident and agree with by the end of today's session is good. But I also think that, like, as Lou pointed out, this is the thing they're going to look at and refer back to. So as we develop the rest of the comprehensive plan on the way back, we should be flexible of mind to come back to this. And if there's something that comes up, put it in here and say.
Correct, yeah.
yeah, no, I agree with Scott. I mean, I think if, when we go through this, we might go back and say, hey, listen, this is so important, let's add this to the introduction.
Yeah, actually, I think we should focus on doing that last.
Yes,
You know,
Do the
Yes.
forward last.
yes,
Yeah.
last.
Yeah.
Do the other sections, and also challenge ourselves a little bit here too. I mean, you know, don't make it too much. Oh, this is like not a challenge, but we want to challenge ourselves to make the people at the state level think we're not just sitting here, just rolling along here. There's got to be things that need to be improved in every municipality, and there's going to be certain challenges with limits, obviously, because what we don't want to do is go up there and do something and then go up there after the review, the 5-year, the annual review you have to do, then you say, well, we failed, you know, and so you know, I mean, not bad to fail, but make it something that is at least something that's worthwhile trying, and recording our efforts in making something better that perhaps it didn't go all the way we wanted, but it was better than what we had before we did the document.
So the forward should actually be, instead of, and maybe not last, but ongoing, just as John
Ongoing,
did, like,
yes.
you know, you think of a sentence that you think should be included in it, and with that Google Doc, you can go in there and type that sentence at 3 a.m.
Correct.
Okay, so I'm gonna zag here. Rather than saying we're going to stay at this until we get this opening piece of paper agreed to. Once the document, Google Doc, is up, I will take what I have done and I will insert that
Fine.
into the electronic document.
Not a problem.
And then at the end of the whole process, we can come back and revisit to see if we need to add or whatever.
Correct.
Okay. So, unless there's something major that people want to add to what I've done, let's put that aside and now turn to the document that Kathy and Diane put together. We're not looking for specific, I'm not looking for specific language, but we might go through what they have done to see if there are any thoughts of it being in the right direction or in the wrong direction. Thank you.
Quick question. Do I understand that what we'll try to do here is agree to basic things, whether we achieved our goals, suggesting new goals, and then we put it in the Google document, or vice versa, or both?
I think that's what Mike was suggesting, right? That anything we were changing should happen in the public forum, or at least, or maybe if it gets changed, it gets read back in at the next
Right.
meeting or something like that, as just a point of process, I guess.
I mean, Kathy, I'm not sure I know the answer to your question. For me, I think it would be of value for us to just not skim, but go over this, and if there is something that people have a major objection to, that, or agreement, that we let you know that, so that it gives us the guidepost going forward. Does that make any sense to you?
Yes. I guess where I'm stuck is, would it make sense to agree on things here in this room as we go along? Is that what you're saying anyway?
Well, I mean,
Or are we going to wait until the very end and agree on everything?
No, I think it would be of value as we go through the major goals to get consensus that remains a major goal, or and if there's something that sticks out that ought to be added, that we should be doing that now, not waiting until we have another discussion.
Right.
To try to give everybody some guideposts.
Right, okay.
And keep in mind, there's a public aspect of this. The public input also is very important to have as part of this document. So we have to put something in that we can put out on the town website periodically to have comments as we go along.
Understand, Lou. Always intended that there would be at least one, if not more, opportunity for public input and reaction.
So, I think, just following up on Kathy, your question, and it seems like we probably do kind of spend the first half hour or so talking process in each one of these. So maybe we say our plan is we get the major goals agreed to at these meetings, and we hammer out the language of the sentences in the Google Doc in the intervening 29 days or 30 days. So and then those things get posted. So we can, maybe next month move straight into like actually reviewing the goals or past accomplishments or whatever it is. So.
You're right. All we seem to each month to talk about the process, so we're not doing anything other than talking about the process.
Trust the process, Lou. That's the thing.
The process has been established. That's
Okay.
It's usually my fault, I will say.
So my question now to Kathy and to Diane would be, or my request would be, if you can give us the background of where in the current document, where did you draw these things from and all, so that we can follow along. Because there's two places in this document that have that have recommendations and all. The first part is the update part from 2017 to 2022, and then later in the document there's sort of what our goals are. And so
Yeah. John, we started this on page, if I'm correct, 29, correct, Kathy? Yeah. We we started within the document. And in number 2 and 3, demographics and population, we just put statistics need updating. That was all the stuff like the charts or whatever, that was just, so
Yeah,
when we got to page 20.
That will be taken care of.
Yeah. So when we got to page 29, that's when we went to the goal. And I think we probably went back to the goals at the back and then came back, Kathy? Is that what we did? Because the goal is listed as provide, for housing, let's say, is to provide appropriate housing for residents and visitors while maintaining small town atmosphere. And then we said town will work with X also as a additional part because of the development in our community too. And then we just listed our accomplishments.
Okay. So,
And then plan for the future. That's what we did with each section going on,
Yeah,
going from.
That's the kind of format that works well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
okay, so, again, sorry, Scott, I'm drifting back into process. But, I mean, the overall goal, that's something that I would agree with. The accomplishments, that's an addition that should go into the report on how did we do. And then the plan for the future is, where do we want to go? So, for purposes of this meeting, let's just stay with goals. Let's just look down each of these items and see if we're in general agreement on that. And then the accomplishments, that's a detail, and the plan for the future, we're not going to get to today. People comfortable with that?
Yeah.
Or do you want to stay with like housing and go through do it goal accomplishments or plan for the future? Doesn't matter to me.
I would say my opinion here is we've talked about a lot of these issues already. I think a lot of this stuff is a synopsis of our earlier conversations. So if we go through here and sort of pro forma check off, we agree with this stuff, then we can get to the business of writing the sentences in the background and just put kind of these sections to bed, as it were.
Okay?
I would say stick with the individual, stick with housing, and let's just get it done.
Okay?
That would just be my
Yep.
preference, but I
Okay.
can do
No, good.
whatever the group wants to do.
I agree with that.
All right. Let's just plow ahead then.
We're still on? Okay, so. Kathy, want me to take 3 and you take 4, or how we want to go back? Okay. Okay, so basically, the goal for housing, is there agreement on what is our goal for housing? To provide adequate housing for residents and visitors while maintaining small town atmosphere. That's what our.
The only issue I have is that town will work with ACTS in what capacity? I mean, that's just a sentence, but that doesn't have any meaning.
I don't know whether we really knew.
We're each covered by a home rule. Each of the communities of all 7 communities that make up ACTS. But I mean, they each have their own set of plans. So we don't actually ever ask ACTS one way or the other about our housing goals.
Okay, so we can eliminate that.
Yes.
Okay,
But I guarantee you, we got to deal with affordable housing in some aspect under this.
And I think we put that in the beginning on page.
I know,
2 or 3.
but
Okay.
we're going to be asked by the state what plans, how can we deal with this from some perspective? Because we just can't ignore it. Let me put it that way. Yeah, I would strike out the sentence, the town works with acts. It's not,
Okay. So we should remove that from our goal, because we continue to work with.
yes, but I mean, but not from, that's not our goal.
Okay.
This probably comes from me being relatively or totally new to this, but, and I know this is in the previous version, but the town wishes to provide appropriate housing for its residents. Makes it seem like a social program. We're not providing housing.
No, we aren't providing housing.
So,
And what's appropriate mean?
right, so the, you know, the town of Bethany Beach wishes to provide space for appropriate housing. Seems like something the town actually does, you know? I guess what I'm saying is, just to hit everybody over the head with it, the town isn't actually building housing. It's not going to at any point in the future. So, and I'm sure the state isn't actually looking at a sentence like that and assuming
No.
that's what it means, but it,
Well,
But-
maybe, how about the town provides residential zoning districts that accommodate various sizes of properties and homes,
What-
something along that line.
What about the town continues to review and update their zoning and standards for housing?
Yes, something like that, yes.
Yeah,
Because
something like
that's what we're involved in, the town is.
Right. we-
You know,
we
that's the only
continually-
involvement we have. you know.
We continually look at them, update them for new standards, and
Yes,
so if in the background, we could develop a sentence that looks more like what the town is actually doing and capable of doing, that'd be great.
and the only obligation the town really has from that perspective too, I mean, we don't, like you said, we don't build houses. We don't tell people other than dimensional sizes, but not what a house is gonna look like. So it has to meet certain guidelines from,
but we regulate, well, like the bulk density, we're trying to regulate.
can you take
space-
the mask down?
Sorry.
Yeah.
We're trying to regulate the air and space between
Right.
dwellings and maintain, better standards for the habitable space.
Yeah,
And that's probably what appropriate is trying to get. That's the stuff that I think appropriate is trying to get to, the word appropriate. So maybe it just takes 2 or 3 more words to describe that.
Okay. So we're in general agreement that housing is a goal that would be going forward, and we can work on the language down the road.
Okay, actually, we took that actually from page 34, so that goal statement was,
Yeah, that's like,
okay,
it's
so
in
that's
the
what we have to change,
2017.
yeah.
Yeah.
But then the recommendation for housing was affordable housing, that's our strategy. And in the recommendation 2 is to build building standards in floodplains and flood fringe areas.
What page,
This is page 34. The bottom of 34 would be our recommendation. It's the goal statement for housing on page 34, and then the recommendation.
I think it wants to say
So we
the
need to
town
change that goal
wishes to
statement on
provide,
page 34.
to provide the appropriate standards for housing. We want to provide
Appropriate standards
guidance.
for housing. Okay.
okay?
Yeah, that's really clean.
Right.
I like that.
Now, I guess we had a question, is this where we put the new code for our bulk density that we had done?
Under accomplishments.
yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, and then,
All right, so moving on then to, lost my sheets.
yeah, that's true. What about, yeah, that's the other thing, that was a plan for the future. Are we going to handle that somewhere else?
Where are you now?
It's, well, I mean, it's after recommendations. I guess, what are our plans for the future in housing? Well, our plans for the future considered the goals?
I'm not sure where you are or what you're asking.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, we're still going through this outline of the goal for housing, accomplishments, that's in bulk density, and then plan for the future. We had 3 things under each one of the sections on the outline. And all right, this outline that you got today.
We were using different terminology than
Yeah, we were using different
document.
terminology. That's what it is.
So we're looking for then basically the recommendations? Is that what you're,
I think that's probably
That
what it
might
would
be it,
be.
yeah.
And that's what's stated in the.
I mean, we went from stating our original goal and then how we accomplished or didn't accomplish that goal, and then we went into, I guess, recommendations or plan for the future. I don't know if you want to continue with that vein or...
Well, when we get to that, if it's recommendations, then we're on affordable housing strategy on page 34.
which really hasn't changed? I mean,
Right.
there's,
Okay, so
And
that's
it's
going to stay
even-
the same.
it's a point that's moving even farther and farther away considering the cost of
Yes.
land
Right.
in
Okay.
Bethany Beach.
And
I
the
think
other-
there's a sentence there somewhere that, you know, where it says, like, however, the trend of development and housing costs in the Bethany Beach area preclude a local solution. I'll propose a sentence, but, like, I think there's something in there where it says the trend of development and housing costs in the Bethany Beach, or in Bethany Beach, preclude a solution within the town limits, and that, however, the town will look to outside the town limits for creative solutions or something. I don't know what that looks like and how that thing is,
Well,
how it passes muster at the state yet, but I think there's something there that just says, we know we can't solve it within the town limits,
well,
but
on page 35, right at the top, it says, "Town will work within county-driven initiatives to seek a regional solution."
yeah, okay, it's already written. It's even easier when it's already written.
Oh.
So I think it's like striking the word however at the beginning of the first sentence, because it, you know, and then I'll make a couple of minor
Okay.
adjustments to that.
Okay.
I'll propose a couple of minor adjustments.
Okay.
Yeah, that's probably one of the most difficult areas to deal with here, so.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. No, it's, drop the act stuff.
Okay.
Yeah,
Draft it down.
Take that out of it. Regional is like working with the county, you know.
Yeah,
Regional, okay.
I think it means something like, you know, we should acknowledge the fact that there are people who work within the town at something like minimum wage or close to minimum wage who can't afford to live anywhere near the town. So what does it look like to be able to provide some access for them to get here, you know, so if they clean houses or work at a restaurant washing dishes or something like that, those people need to get here. As Susan pointed out, their housing solutions are getting farther and farther away. I mean, they might be west of Millsboro at this
Right.
point.
Well, I mean,
So-
quite honestly, most of our employees don't live in the town.
Yeah, they
Because they can't afford to
They
live
can't
here.
unless they're, you know, teenage kids of people who already own something in the town. So
I mean, Scott, we're going to have, I think, a pretty good indication of whether or not a solution or a possible solution to affordable housing is going to occur when the Sussex County Council votes on the application for the 200 apartments. I know that that's in Ocean View. That's not affordable housing, but the range the rent, the cost, the monthly cost means, is such that it would be more affordable than other places. If they approve that, that to me is a, quote, regional approach. If they don't approve it, I understand what you're saying, but if they don't approve that,
Well, you know, it could be, I have a sort of a loose understanding of what's going on there, but if I'm not mistaken, I think they could, by right, put like 170 apartments there. And they're asking for 30 more. They're saying something like, the roadways are a burden. Having to like provide roads and parking means like our density is lower than we wanted it to be, so we would like to have 30 more units or something like that. You know, I'm just throwing out round numbers. I hear what you're saying. I'm just saying, like, you know, potentially it's like, well, if there was like a regional transportation partnership or something where you said between Bethany, Millville, Millsboro, you know, there's a shuttle for people, you know, that makes it more possible for you to, you know, just to throw like a crazy thing out there. Imagine like somebody who's just working in like a pizza restaurant in Millsboro and they're taking home $30, $40 a night in tips. They could come down here and work at one of the restaurants here and take $250 home a night in tips. You know, just, and probably it's just transportation. You can't justify the cost of getting here. But so just then the problem becomes Millsboro's problem and whatever. But anyway, there's something there. I don't know what the solution is. We're not going to find it. I don't think we're going to find it in the next 6 months here, but we could find it over the next 10 years.
I happen to agree with you. I want to be careful, though, not to put an expectation on the town that they don't have control over the outcome. I mean, like transportation. I love the idea of a regional coordinated transportation system where you get DART and whoever else and our trolleys and all maybe into a system to move people around. But I'd be very concerned about saying that in a plan, which then causes the state to say, well, Bethany Beach, you said that you were ready to lead, or they would read into it that we were going to lead an effort to coordinate that, when that's beyond our control.
Yeah, no, I think the sentence that's already in the 2017 version is a pretty good, you know, it says, hey, we're going to try to find something.
On a regional basis, yes.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. We don't want to get too specific about it. Don't take anything I said as being a specific instance of what we should put in there. Just assume I'm not being serious on any level at any point. That's how my wife treats me.
All right. Do we need to beat the dead horse of housing anymore at the moment, or can we move on to land use acquisitions and annexation?
Just one point in the recommendation for number 2. We recertify in May now, not October, because they like to see us scramble.
Okay, so you can make that change, right?
Can I don't know, why, can I get in the Google
Yeah,
thing? 'Cause
please.
nobody has sent me anything.
Definitely, please.
Yes.
I'll share it with you too.
You have some technical expertise,
Yeah.
right?
All right.
But if you're
Sure.
recertifying in May, do you have any time to make that change right now?
I think they like that, but yeah.
Yeah, sorry, Susan. You and other town officials can certainly have access. I mean, like, we've asked Johnny Apple for a number of things, so it's not exclusive to just us.
I'm happy to do it.
Thank you. Okay, Kathy.
Okay, number 4 is land use, acquisitions, and annexations. The 4 primary land uses: residential, commercial, institutional, parks, and open spaces. Our goal was to maintain land use patterns and develop characteristics rather than have many changes. Our accomplishments: we have listed the Nature Center, the Town Park, Dinker Cottage, and acquisition of the Westernmost Loop Canal, and no plans to annex additional land, but I guess well, no, we didn't. And our plan for the future is to explore obtaining ownership of the remainder of the Loop Canal. And I have written here in notes, well, we've purchased 2.7 acres adjacent to the Walcheck property.
Yeah, we should add the Walcheck property and the
Yeah, we
property
should
that
add-
was just acquired
Yep.
at the last town meeting.
Yeah.
Do we have plans to annex additional property?
No.
Okay. So then our goal really is to just maintain land use patterns, open space, that sort of thing, not to create, or not to, develop more open space or provide for more open space.
And Lou, are there any discussions about further acquisition of the Westernmost Loop Canal?
Only the only part of the Loop Canal we're looking at are the parts that, that we're dealing with, but that's not, we already own it. It was just a matter of maintaining it.
Right.
We own it.
I'm not sure what area you're referring to.
Do we own the entire Loop Canal at this point?
All the parts that within the town limits we do.
All, yeah, all through, all out the salt.
There's parts of it are outside the town. A small part that's in Ocean View, right at the very end.
Yeah, there's a part in Ocean View, and then if we're talking Loop Canal, Salt Pond, we own that whole
Yes.
area to.
Well, then, rather than saying acquisition of, shouldn't we just say something like maintenance of
Improving.
improving?
Yeah.
Maintenance and improvements.
Yeah,
Yeah.
rather than acquisition.
So that includes the Loop Canal, the Walcheck property, and what we just purchased, correct? As in maintenance?
I don't know what they referred to it as, but the
Yeah.
piece we just,
Say, land adjacent to the Walcheck property.
Okay.
Yeah.
We can get you a name for the previous owner if it helps, if we call it that.
I can't even pronounce his name.
Right,
It's a very difficult
it
name
is,
to
but
pronounce.
They're not gonna
Yeah,
know.
we could use his last name. We'll put that in there.
Okay.
It's
It is
actually,
long.
He'll actually be in a proper document.
I got it here.
Yeah,
man.
if it's written, we never have to say it. Do we have any goals for that property?
I think maintaining the wetlands. We're
Yes.
just making sure that it's not developed because we want to maintain the habitats and everything of the wetlands there.
Yes.
Maintain the habitat.
Yeah,
That's
to
what
maintain
we-
it, it's a natural state and, and to improve it as
It's a natural
necessary.
watershed. It helps with flooding. It has many species. It's a great big piece of property that yeah, we're keeping from development.
Yep.
okay, anything else on item 4? Let's then move to item 5, government services and facilities. I mean, the only thing that I noticed, I'm on page 42, ladies and gentlemen, is the first sentence there. It says the town employs 37 persons. I don't know if that's correct or if it's different
What's that?
now, but
What does it say?
it says the town employs a year-round staff of approximately 37 persons, including 10 full-time police and staff.
That's about right.
All right.
Yeah.
And then Lou, I'm on page 43 of the current document, 5.2.2, fire and rescue. Is there any discussion or concern about the ability of the volunteer fire department to recruit and retain volunteers, and the need for potentially going to more full-time salaried employees? And the only reason I ask that is, I know they're not part of the town government, but does that have a potential impact on us if they're not able to maintain their current status?
Well, obviously, the answer is yes, it would have an impact. But most communities that have volunteer fire departments are not in a position to go to a full-time paid fire department. I mean, the cost would be exceed most revenues of most of the small towns here.
So for the purposes of our plan, we should basically leave it as it is.
We do support them financially by giving them various sums of money throughout their. In fact, we just did yesterday. We gave them thousands of. I can't remember. $3,000 or $5,000 yesterday. Was it? $5,000 yesterday. I'm sorry, we gave $20,000 to the fire company yesterday. So it was, again, our recognition of the services that they provide. And don't forget, they also provide other communities, but that was our contribution to the fire company. We do that on an annual basis too.
Okay, getting back in line.
Okay.
I'm on page 45, which is now.
I'm sorry, I just want to back it up a little bit, and I think I'll ask John Apple this, but on page 42, where it talks about the facility we have at Blackwater, that's been completed just about.
Yes,
Right.
So we want to mention that it's out
definitely
there.
mention that.
Yeah, it talks about it, it's planning to construct, but it's
done.
It's done.
In fact, I think your storage area is going to be moving out that way, isn't it?
That's correct.
Yeah.
Okay, Diane and Kathy.
What page?
Well, I'm looking on your page,
okay.
number 2, government services and facilities. And that accords to page 45 of the current document. Recommendation 1, maintain optimal intergovernmental relations, and then the other things that are there.
Under government services and facilities, should the new ordinance for small cell be referenced? The one that had the second, did it have second reading? The ordinance that was just passed yesterday.
Yes.
For
Yeah, we should,
for the design and,
yes. Maybe ask John for some verbiage that way.
My only question is, are there any more accomplishments we need to put in?
Can't hear you.
Are there any more accomplishments we need to put in under government services and facilities?
well, put in our cell ordinance and then the completion of Blackwater.
Okay, the Blackwater. And Lou, you said you would add the grants and loans?
Yeah, could you give us a list of all those grants and loans that we just received? And so we'll put that in there too also. Especially the stuff that related to COVID.
And what about plan for the future?
Well, one, we just signed a contract with, I know I'm going to mention it again, Comcast.
You're right. I have
They have up to 2 years to complete the total installation for the town. The commercial's being worked on now, so all the commercial properties will be installed first.
Do we need to put into the future, the recommendations about anything about 5G?
Well, that's a good question about the 5G. So, I mean, it's something to look forward to, but I have no idea what it is for the town, 5G, so. Yeah, we can put it in there, you know. Personally, I think by the time they get down to 5G, 6G will be here.
That's
So.
It'll be something else.
Because it's not only as a technical thing, but it's a political thing now, you know. So who has it, who doesn't have it.
All right. Number 6, water, wastewater, and stormwater management.
Okay, our goal is to provide high-quality water services while promoting a safe, healthy, and navigable place for residents and visitors. I think we need to update some of these numbers about the future water needs. Let's see, what page are we on?
Kathy, excuse me, but I don't understand part of the goal statement where it says safe, healthy, and navigable place. Is that navigable
Yes.
waters?
Yeah, I would guess the Loop
Waterways.
Canal.
Waterways?
Waterways. Loop
Maybe,
Canal.
maybe that's not where it should be. It should be in, because I don't think it should be part of this section.
Right.
here.
Okay.
Yeah, here we're talking about municipal water.
Yes.
Right.
Okay. I think in this, Diane, did we have any real
I think,
ideas of our own here?
no,
I think we were just taking from,
Yes, I know. I'm not criticizing you.
yeah.
No, I'm something.
No,
I'm
I'm
not-
just saying in
I'm
general.
not criticizing what you've done. I'm criticizing, you know, so what we
It
should
really
look in the
sticks out,
future.
I agree. But I'm saying for the rest of what we have, I think we were just pulling from the document itself.
Yes, yes.
right, an update.
I mean, any of the comments about water, we should just refer that to the water department and
Yes.
let them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe just swap out navigable for clean.
Yeah. If you want to keep to that language.
Well, yes and no. I mean, you're suggesting it's possibly not clean. So.
No, I'm just saying that it continues to be clean, you know, like, yeah, yeah.
I think safe and healthy should deal with that, not
Right.
have to put clean in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, clean is, open, I think. Yeah, I'll have the town look at that section and
Okay.
update that part. Yeah, and we do now have that, a new committee, so.
All right, transportation, number 7. That refers to page 59 and forward of the current document. Well, the goal statement and the recommendations that they're referring to on their document actually start on page 59.
Maybe you're not gonna make the baseball. Maybe you're not gonna make the baseball game. Oh, you can go, we have to, so.
Local.
Lou, if I may ask a question, so a number of the, or a lot, the language that we're not specifically talking about, you know, describing the various neighborhoods, that sort of thing in here about areas of concern. I'm sorry, I'm going back to stormwater management. Will that just stay the same in the update? Or,
I think there's some things we can update in there. Yeah, again, I'll have the town look at that and update it.
I mean, Kathy, are you referring to a specific page?
well, just, you know, I know that I'm just sort of flipping through a lot of this that we haven't specifically discussed, and I just didn't know whether, you
All
know,
right. Let me give a concrete example, if I see if I'm with you. On page 52, there's a paragraph, town-wide drainage plans. And it talks about how the town is addresses those drainage plans and that they've done most of it. But I don't know if we're continuing, if that's an effort that continues to this day. It says, to date, most of these projects have been completed. However, policy-related activities and some physical improvements have not yet been implemented. I don't know what any of those are, but it then goes on to say, this may be an identifiable area of opportunity for future town investment. By controlling the flooding, the benefit to the community could be substantial. Lower flood insurance premiums, reduce damage. But it's just speculation, and I don't know if that.
No, we are going to install that bladder dam at the end of the loop canal that connects to the Assa Woman. That was held up for a while because had to get approval from DENREC to do that, and it's been approved. So we'll also be working obviously with Ocean View to make sure that we're not creating transferring our flooding issue to them, which we will not be. It'll be basically controlling the amount of water coming down. But it's only 2 feet high. So anything above that will go over it. It's an inflatable dam, so.
we've approved it. Do we have the funds to do it?
Yes.
Okay. Any date in mind in terms of,
I'm sorry?
any date that we'd get started on?
I don't know the action, no date, no. But it's going to happen.
All right, folks, we're at 10:34. We're almost, we're getting to number 7. Let's try to push on before we lose our official recorder. This is transportation, and it's back to Kathy and Diane for any comments or whatever. Your goals and recommendations for transportation start on page 59 with Del.Dot coordination.
There is a new committee to deal with this, so. And they had their first meeting recently. So we can put that in that.
Should there be something in there with the way that parking has been changed due to the pandemic
Yeah.
to assist people just picking up takeout, or, you know, we've changed the regulation so there are 15-minute spots that people can use
Yes.
to get in and out of town easily and get whatever they need.
Well, the only thing I have to worry, the only concern I have about that is that, you know,
You don't want to make it a rule. It's
well, but,
now.
yeah, because it might disappear when the COVID
Right,
goes
right.
away.
Okay, yeah, okay,
When it goes away, I should
Yeah.
say. So, I mean, that might not be what we do in the future.
exactly. I get it.
Maybe make a note here, because of, you know, a current pandemic, we've made those changes to assist local businesses who,
Maybe, yeah, that
yeah,
the
put it in
town
that
has
way.
developed plans for emergencies such as the
Right.
pandemic.
right, and put it from that perspective and not, you know, it's more of a reaction to a current event. And this is one way we've done it.
Right,
So,
you don't want to make it,
No, not ongoing, because we
Yeah.
don't know, you know.
But John,
but-
this is where you wanted number 7, correct?
Pardon?
Yes.
Parking.
Yes. Well, let me ask this question. If, let's say, the local Chamber of Commerce were to come to the town, pandemic recedes, and the Chamber of Commerce comes and says, you know, we really like this idea of a couple of 15-minute pickup spaces that we would like you to consider continuing to have them even when we lift the restrictions. Is that something that you think might happen?
No.
no.
First of all, most of the businesses in Bethany Beach don't belong to the Chamber of Commerce.
Okay.
Number 2, a number of businesses are already complaining about these 15-minute spots. Not everyone is on board with them. But, so it's one of these catch can.
Gotcha.
They're really specifically designed for the kind of a takeout environment, like where restaurants were, because they were limited the number of people inside the restaurants, where the amount of takeout has increased dramatically, to accommodate those individuals so they don't have to be penalized for coming into town just to pick up their food to leave, but they have to put money in a meter. So, I mean, it was
Right,
counterproductive.
or even find a place to park, so this.
Yes,
this
and even to
saves
find a
that.
place to park. So these are dedicated spots for in-out kind of thing. And this is, again, a reaction to the current circumstance and not something that is going to go forward for. I think the emphasis will be made that the town, you know, was proactive dealing when challenges such as a pandemic, and these are some of the ways that we dealt with it, including like changing the street end parking in the summertime.
All right, so that, right now, in the current plan, there's no specific section related to parking, okay? So if we,
Well, parking is a dangerous area to deal with. I mean, we're limited.
understand, Mike, I guess I'm looking for a guidance question, Lou. Do you think that going forward we should add a number 7? We have bike paths, pedestrian safety, a number 7 related to parking, or just leave it out? And I'm sorry, Susan? No, go ahead.
I would tend to agree to leave it out because there's not much more other than, my only reason for bringing it up was that the town was proactive. I like, that's the exact word that I think you want to use, but I don't think you want to get into all parking. Just that the town was proactive during the pandemic in helping to resolve things. But other than that, I don't think you want to detail our parking.
No, I think that's goes up in, that's in the same category as affordable housing from my perspective, so.
Okay.
See, I was going to say the same thing, except that I think it is in the same category as affordable housing. Then we should say, we should acknowledge parking is an issue. As Mike pointed out in one of our earlier meetings, if you talk to the people of the town, that's what everybody complains about is parking.
And also out of the town.
Or and outside of the town, right? So if we just completely leave it out, it's like we're just almost pretending like it's not a thing. It's not an issue. It is an issue, but we could say we could draft a sentence that's similar to the one that's already in here about housing that says like parking is a problem. There are no like
But
there are
not,
no
just
town
mention it, but no, don't make a separate section. So.
and just well, I don't, John. You're not saying make a separate section. You're saying include it as notes.
Well,
that sounds like a statement, but it's a question. Are you saying include it as part of the transportation section, or make a separate section for it?
I wasn't proposing inclusion or not. I was raising the issue, and parking to me, if you were going to put it somewhere, it would be in transportation. And since we talked about bicycle safety and so forth, whether we wanted to add that. If we don't, as long as it gets addressed, because that's a long-term problem.
Yes.
I would be personally, I would be for adding something in here about parking that says it's difficult to solve, but we think that improvements to bicycle safety, public transportation, things like that are actually reduce the need for parking, or
Yes.
help ameliorate
We're working
the situation.
for alternative solutions that will reduce the demand on parking.
I'm a little confused. Do you mean to include it in the transportation section and not a separate, right?
Yeah, I don't think a separate section, because it's not like the town's not going to go buy a parking lot somewhere outside the town limits and ferry people in. Or
No.
I don't think any of us are proposing that's a realistic solution. So
It could
That was
be- it could be
looked into
added
it
under-
at some point too, remember?
It could be added under municipal streets,
Yeah.
just something in there about it.
Yeah.
So it doesn't make it
Yeah.
an issue, but it's noted.
And to me, the reason I'm saying this is I think to me it reinforces the notion that those other things are kind of hyper important. Pedestrian safety, bicycle safety, the more we improve those things over the next 10 years, the less demand there is for parking, so it just brings them into focus, really. It's like, hey, that Collins Street pedestrian pathway is really important. It can get people from Bethany West into town without having to get in their cars. As Route 1 becomes busier, as 26 becomes busier, these will all be.
Okay, so I'm sorry, I zoned out. Do we want to add?
I have that effect on people, yeah.
It happened long before that. It happened before I even got out of the truck this morning. Do we want to have a number? Just a recommendation number 7, parking with a sentence that says, this is a challenge and will continue to be, and we'll work on it. Do we want to just add that? I would be in favor of adding that, even if it's just one sentence, to address exactly what you were saying, Todd, people are going to say, well, if you're worried about bike paths, how come you didn't say anything about parking?
I personally think we should find a place for, even if it's under municipal roadways or wherever. There should be a place for it where we say something like that. Personally, I think there should be.
Okay.
But I don't think we're going to find 1,000 more parking spots in the,
Right.
you know. And even if we did,
1,000?
those would be filled, you know. I don't even think, we're not going to find 10, and even if we did, those would be filled, you know.
You know, if we even had 1,000, they would be filled, and then people say, where's the next 1,000? So,
Exactly.
Then where would we put the people that were coming with
exactly, too.
All right, number 8 is environmental protection. And any recommendations for
I mean, actually, the records had to kind of be updated.
yes, I mean, all the charts and so
Yeah,
forth.
these are all accomplishments and not really recommendations.
And the recommendations start on page 72 for environmental protection.
Yeah, actually, why don't we change that section to say accomplishments,
Yep.
and then plans for the future, we could change that to recommendations.
Yep. Okay. Let's press on. We got 2 more sections just to have. And number 9 is economic and community development. That starts on page 75. And this has to do with all the historic structures, the new hotel, et cetera. Really. The only thing that I thought about, and this is reflective of our discussion at the last month's meeting, under recommendations, under economic and community development, was pervious surfaces. We were going to, at some point, try to address people concreting their whole thing. We had done it for driveways, but we hadn't done it for anything else. And
We haven't even done it for driveways.
well, we haven't done it for anything.
I do have a sentence.
You
that
do?
I don't know if we want to do it now, but I can just share it with Susan, and I don't know whatever the right process is for that. It's kind of not related to the.
Susan?
Yeah.
You were going to take a stab at it for a possible ordinance.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have that stab at it, and I'll share it
Oh,
with you.
okay.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, good.
All right.
But I don't. I think what we decided in our last meeting was that wouldn't be part of our comprehensive plan. It would just be something we do.
Got it.
But it might be a goal
Okay.
to develop an ordinance regarding pervious surfaces and impervious.
I think, yeah, that's a good idea, because whatever sentence we come up with, whatever sentence we finalize will be a stopgap between here and what the final outcome is.
All right, so we're like rounding third and headed for home. I would like to move to page 93 of the current document. That is, the current document, these were proposed major capital improvement projects. And let's just kind of go through them, because some of them we've done and so forth. And then, Kathy and Diane, you have recommendations on some things. So let's try to, number one, improvement to the downtown business district. That's done. That was the streetscape. I don't know the answer to create a network of sidewalks east of Route 1 and prioritize and fund sidewalk construction.
I guess they're referring to Collins there, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, Collins Street, yeah.
Collins.
Well, Collins Street is west of Route 1, not east of Route 1.
Well, I'm sorry, yes.
So
Yes, yeah.
that's why I wasn't sure what they... We added the second water tower, right?
Yes,
Okay, so that one's done. Long-term projects, creation of a town park,
That's done.
done.
that's done. And we got our, we did the grants and so forth. Number two, I'm on page 94, ladies and gentlemen. Green energy initiatives to reduce town-related costs. We put all the LED bulbs in. Is there any kind of, do you know of?
Well, this building has solar panels, right?
This building has solar panels.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
We
This
have
building has solar
on
panels.
this
Right.
building, yes, that's exactly.
And we have motion detectors in most of the rooms, many of our meeting rooms.
Those are
We took a lot of them out.
Huh?
We took a lot of those
Out,
out
yeah, that's true.
because they weren't working. So I think they're just in minimal spaces.
Yeah.
It goes on to say, alternative energy-powered municipal vehicles. This is still a work in progress.
Yes.
We're going to keep doing that. They're going to, as things,
Well, as obviously over in time, we're going to see more and more electric vehicles and less internal combustion engines, whether they want to or not. But that's in the future. So.
and then the final item in our whole document is ongoing capital-intensive projects, flooding-related issues. We've got the Bladder Dam.
Yep. Other than that purchase of that property,
Right.
and what else have we got? Maintaining and updating the Assawoman Canal as far as erosion and deterioration.
Okay. Any other comments? All right, I think, thank you all for all that discussion. I think this has been very helpful in making sure that we're all in the boat, rowing the same way, and as we go forward. Are there any other comments that people would like to add before we bring this to a close in terms of other initiatives?
If what we've done here can be summarized so that I can add this all in, I would appreciate it. So.
I think from here, we just essentially went through the entire document. So from here, I think we have, if I don't, I'll get Andrea to send me the 2017 version. I'll load that into the Google Doc so everybody can, so then we could start adjusting the language, take this and start turning it into the 2021 version.
2022.
2022 version.
Yep.
And I guess sketching out a notion on process is that from here we'll find sentences that we want to haggle over, right? So we can draft a sentence in there, bring those sentences to the next meeting, and hammer the sentence out.
And in that vein, let's reverse engineer here. When do you need our consensus product? The work we do on changing the language. Okay, that's because the next meeting is May, and oh, by the way, May 1st is a Saturday. This coming May, it starts, the month starts on Saturday, which means that we won't have our meeting until the 4th Saturday. Okay? Right. But we should now all work towards inputs through the electronic document in time for the May meeting. Okay. Yes, sir.
If I may, the current version of the town comprehensive plan is available on our town website under government e-services.
Okay.
Version?
Yes, it was posted last week. It's the most recent comprehensive plan.
Good, thank you.
Very welcome.
Well, I would need help taking it from the website to a place where we could all edit and comment on it.
I'll
Will,
do that.
is that a PDF or a Word document?
It is a PDF document.
Well,
So it is available for download and viewing. And Mr. Edmondson had already commented how that is being migrated in for y'all's
Yeah.
editing capability.
Except you can't update a PDF document.
No, that is correct. This is the current official document.
Yeah.
This would not be editable in real time.
Right.
But the Word document exists, so I'll get that. I'll upload it to the Google document.
Right, okay.
And everyone will be able to.
Yeah, obviously, we couldn't put on the web a Word document. Because, I mean, for the general population.
It would not be recommended.
No, because people can make a modification, we wouldn't know it, so.
Correct. Well, they would be able to download it and edit it, but they would not have the capability of reattaching it to the website. So even if it were a Word document, it would not be something they could edit that for everybody's consumption.
Thank you.
Okay, well, as a non-technician, I just, whatever we got that we can manipulate, and then they can translate it to get it further on. Good. Excellent. Any other comments? Do I have a motion to adjourn? Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting is adjourned at 10:57 a.m.